Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Answers podcast with myself, Adele. And today on the show, we are joined by the lovely Mystic Mandy. Hello, Mandy.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful, thanks.
Now, I can hear a slight accent. So, where about in the country are you?
I'm actually in Muskoka, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, wow. Is that somewhere where you've always lived, or are you a bit of a traveller?
I grew up in Muskoka, and I just actually moved back after being at the other end of Ontario. So I've been here for about 6 years now again.
Oh, fantastic. Now, I hear your life's a bit hectic at the moment, obviously moving and things like that. So, thank you for sharing the time with us to speak to me and for our listeners to find out more about you and the work that you do. So, let's go to the beginning. I mean, how did you know that you had psychic ability? When were the first experiences that you had?
Some of my first experiences were as young as 3, 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I would intuitively pick up on energy when something wasn't uh, good or if somebody was sick. Specifically, my dad, I was very connected intuitively with him. When he was ill, I would always know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would tell my mom, that something was wrong at that age. My first experience with spirit at age 6,
Mm-hmm.
when I was visiting my grandparents' home, we had a resident spirit that would visit often when there was trouble in the family, and my grandfather had been very ill for quite some time, and kept us up late at night, and I'd gone to bed, and this lady appeared before me and told me that it was okay, that I could go to sleep, that everything would be all right. And
Mm-hmm.
the next morning my grandfather passed peacefully.
Oh, oh, bless you.
Yeah, so it was nice because of the fact that my mom is also a gifted psychic medium
Yeah.
who's helped in many different areas of people's lives, as well as helping the local police force and that, and been on TV and everything as well. So with
Wow.
her guidance throughout growing up, I've never had a moment in my life where I felt that I should have to hide my gift or
Yeah.
that I couldn't speak openly about it. And I've found that talking with a lot of other people who are gifted, they've had that struggle. So I've been very fortunate that I've had a amazing mentor, and I've
Yeah.
been able to talk openly about it.
Wow. I mean, what an amazing thing to be able to do where you can pick up on spirit. Would you say that is your main speciality? Is that the main, sort of experiences that you had? It is mediumship. It's people that passed over that you connect with.
I would say a combination of that and and reading people's energy.
Mm-hmm.
Just simply speaking to somebody on the phone, I'm able to intuitively tap into their energy and pick up right away whether they're, a good person, maybe a current event that's happening in their life. I've have found over the years of doing this that I'm specifically very good at connecting with people who are changing careers or doing moves. I would say that's definitely a spot that I seem to be very accurate on when people are making that transition with careers and moves in their life.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. I mean, for you, has it always been a strong connection with spirit, or is it something you've had to work on and develop on? How's that? How do you know you're connecting with somebody? For somebody that's listening, that's thinking, well, how do you know?
It's an interesting thing because I don't just hear spirit. I also see them, and I actually smell things. For instance, this morning I had a lovely lady, and her mother was somebody who loved to bake cakes, and all I could smell was cakes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that connection for her, that was her
Yeah.
confirmation. So it's stuff like that that comes through, and it's also intuitively hearing them say to me, this message needs to be given to, and what it is.
Yeah.
So I've been blessed on all fronts on that. A lot of it depends how open the person is to receiving the message.
Mm.
If they're not open to truly being able to receive that message and being ready for the message, then spirit doesn't always come through as strong as we would like.
Yeah. And you mentioned there, obviously, your mum helping, the police and things like that. I mean, how fascinating is that? Being able to, when it comes to sort of, crime or missing people, obviously it's quite a delicate and a huge responsibility. How do you feel about doing that sort of work?
There's gratification in it if you can bring peace and closure to the people who are in the struggle. And that's always been sort of my goal doing this work. My goal hasn't been for fame or glory or none of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been about how many people that I can help with my gift.
Yeah.
I figure I was given this gift to help people.
Mm,
And so for me, when it comes to that sort of thing, if something that I'm able to intuitively tap into can bring a loved one home who's been missing, or bring closure to, a crime that's been done for those people,
mm.
then that's all I expect out of it.
How
And
emotional is
that's how I was taught.
how emotional is it for you? Because people that are having these readings or asking these questions, it when people have passed over, yes, there's happy memories and happy experiences they've had, but it must be quite emotional as well.
The energy does get heavy from time to time, yes, for sure. I'm specifically very empathetic to people as well. So, and being blessed with seeing the other side myself, I'm able to give that sort of closure that they're looking for.
Mm,
But loss is always a struggle for everybody, the same as change. Nobody likes change, nobody likes loss, and of course the two of them are both associated with one another. If you
mm,
lose somebody, there's great change to it.
yeah.
So it's that connection.
Mm. And have you obviously you mentioned there about your grandparents, but have you been able to connect with anybody yourself that's been either a friend or a family member? Is it easy as that, connecting with the people that you want to, or is it not always that easy to say, I want to talk to Bob who passed over? Can you choose who you want to speak to?
I can choose if I find that having a name of the person that's passed does help.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it helps be able to call them in. Spirit comes when spirit feels like it and when they need to, and they know when to come. So
Mm,
I don't challenge them if that person doesn't want to come through. I don't challenge them because I always trust and believe in the universe and in perfect divine timing that they will come when they're supposed to. I
mm-hmm.
do call on my father, who's in spirit, for instance, to guide me, and a past fiance who passed away tragically. And both of them I've had different experiences with.
Mm-hmm.
A short time after my father passed away, I was thinking about him, and I hadn't received what I, as somebody who's gifted, would call a sign that he was with me. And
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about him while I was driving home, and suddenly had the taste of ice cold beer in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
as fast as it came, it went. And I knew that that was him because my dad had been a drinker and loved his cold beer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I've
Yeah.
had different experiences like that.
Yeah. Can spirit come in your dreams?
Yes,
Okay, that's
most
interesting.
definitely.
Yeah, that's interesting because my dad passed away when I was quite young. I was 29, and and then when my mum passed away later, much later on, only actually just before lockdown, actually. So not 2019, she passed. But I was. Yeah, there's a couple of things, but one of the dreams that really stood out to me, that when we were younger, we used to all go on cruises together, and that was their favourite thing. They loved going on cruises. They used to go as well as on their own. When we sort of flew the nest, they used to go as a couple on their own. And when my mum passed away, I had a dream that my mum was going into the waiting room to meet my dad, and my dad was waiting for her, and they were going off on a cruise together. And for me, that was the message that I felt that I needed, that my mum had met my dad in spirit.
Beautiful. I
Mm.
love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
I felt that was enough for me to get that peace of mind that yeah, they're together.
Yeah, for sure.
And I never have. many dreams. There's only been one or two occasions when my mum or my dad have been in my dreams. It's normally when I've been a little bit worried or upset or stressed about something that they come into my dream, and I think they're there when I need them, and it's almost a bit of comfort for me. They're not there all the time, and I don't dream that often because I'm normally so tired. I don't dream about anything. I'm gone, and after having children and work and God knows what going on in my lives, when I hit the pillow, I'm done. But when they're not so much now because I'm in a very nice place in my life, but previously, when I've been a bit unsettled, they have come into my dreams. I was wondering whether that is a way that they can connect with you.
Feel that it's sometimes the best way, especially if somebody's not necessarily open in the conscious mind
Yeah.
to be connected with. It's
Mm.
a beautiful way for them to connect. I often tell people, if you're looking for that message or you're looking for that sign or direction from those loved ones, specifically parents or a spouse that you were connected with so closely, if you
Yeah.
ask before you drift off to sleep, oftentimes it's a beautiful way for them to connect with us.
Yeah.
And it's because of the fact that, they're able to consciously get to us when we're at that most vulnerable state during sleep.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. Good to know. Well, so tell me a little bit more about other ways that you work. What sort of things do you look at when you're in your spiritual, got your spiritual hat on, or when you're on the phone lines?
So I also use goddess cards. I've been using the same deck of cards for over 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And they were gifted to me by a very close friend, actually from high school, which was kind of ironic. But I use them more for confirmation than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when people are stuck or we need that little bit of extra information,
Mm-hmm.
then I pull the cards to confirm that sort of stuff for them. I also do tarot as well, using a couple different decks that I've had over the years. And I've recently started using playing cards, which is actually how my mom first started out. So I've
Mm-hmm.
been taking her teachings and using that.
Oh, fantastic. And what's the difference then? So, say you work with the goddess cards, what sort of energy does that give off?
Goddess cards, it's very much, and of course, how they fall, just the same as any type of card reading. The difference in the goddess cards is they're very much directed to women and feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one thing that I like about them, and I love the fact that they're always about the positivity and the positive messages and how you can focus and move forward in a very positive way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I believe in the law of attraction. So what we think about, we bring about.
Yeah.
So I always try to lead with a open heart and with love and positivity when I'm doing any reading and just in my day-to-day life.
Mm. No, absolutely. And it's nice. I've learned over the years. I mean, I don't know if it's just that I'm that sort of type of person, but I am a very positive person. Yes, you go through challenges and you have good days and bad days, and sometimes you can feel emotional, and sometimes you can be a bit ratty time of the month and all that malarkey. But generally, I'm a very positive person. I don't let the small stuff. I don't sweat the small stuff, so to speak. And I always think that one door closes, another door opens, and I try to live my life by that. And even with the children, there's no point in getting upset about things that you can't change. You just move on from it, accept it, or learn from it. But there are so many people that you come across, and they're just their energy is just so draining, and they're so negative, and it's just like, gosh, it's crazy how, I suppose, maybe because I've been in the spiritual world for such a long time, maybe I've learned that sort of behavior of looking at things much more positively. But there are so many people that are impacted in life that are so negative.
Yes, it's
And
true. And
it's
I
really sad to see.
doing this type of work, you certainly come across a lot of people, but
Mm.
I like to think that, through the readings and my experience in the past, that it's enough to help people see the sunnier side, so to speak.
Oh, I hope so. It has
I've
reading can
definitely
really uplift people and help people see things in such a different light. So yeah, I 100% agree that if people took the time more to speak to psychics or to read more of the spiritual world or personal development or anything like that, manifestation, crystals, whatever it might be, it's all so positive.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, if you think back on it, even if you look back in history about spirituality, you're not going to find very much in there it's always in a positive light. It's always about moving forward and the great outcomes. You
Mm.
know, it goes back for generations that, this has always been something that's here, but I find it interesting now. I remember being a child and watching my mom develop more and so on. And although I was always grateful I had her to go to and be able to express what was going on, there was also that little bit of fear back then as well. Because, I mean, back in those days, very much so in Canada, anyways, people looked at us like we were different or that there was something wrong with us or
Mm.
that we were witches
Yeah.
because of what we did. Whereas nowadays, I openly advertise that I'm a psychic medium. I'm invited to many different things to do readings and to help people. And I'm grateful for all of it, but it's such a transition and a change that I'm quite enjoying, to be very honest. And I'm very grateful that people are finally
Yeah.
opening up to
Mm.
this.
Definitely. So what sort of things have you done over the years, from whether it's, haunted, sort of tours, or have you done sort of platform work, or have you done shows, have you written books, what sort of things have you done over the years with your psychic work?
So I've been published on a couple different platforms. I've done a couple different, I do some house clearings and stuff like that in the local area because this is quite an old area that I live in.
Yeah.
So it goes right back to, the POA camps and stuff like that
Hmm. Hmm.
during wartime. So there's a lot of energy in those areas. So I do house clearings and that type of thing for customers. I've done lots of charity work where I will come in and donate my gift and all the money goes to different charities and that sort of thing.
Lovely.
So that's been sort of my prime thing, as well as I follow about 4 different platforms here that are different shows. They're called holistic shows, and
Yeah.
I go around to them as well.
You
Different
keep yourself
holistic
busy.
healing fairs. Very, yeah.
Ah. What challenges have you faced with your psychic work over the years, if there have been any?
I would say the biggest challenge has been acceptance, to be
Hmm.
honest with you.
Hmm.
It certainly, like I said, is a lot better than now than what it ever used to be.
Yeah.
But it's been that acceptance, and it's also been sort of having customers who, you have the odd person, especially at the shows that I do, who doubt or think that you're there doing some sort of evil magic, which of
Yeah.
course we know is not at all the truth.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's been the challenge. The challenge has been trying to open up more of those people that are blocked off.
Yeah.
I would say that's kind of been the biggest challenge for any of us. Really, is acceptance and trying to open people up to the fact that this is here and actually here to help.
Yeah, absolutely. And then from the flip side to that, what's been the sort of the biggest highs that you've had with your psychic work over the years?
Honestly, I took a trip a few years ago to Nova Scotia. It was just purely on vacation.
Hmm.
And I had a spirit join me during one of the tours that I was on. And it turned out that her daughter was one of the other ladies on the tour. And her mom had passed of breast cancer.
Hmm.
And she had always promised her daughter that she would visit her in spirit through her dreams. And she had been, but the daughter was going through a life crisis.
Hmm.
And because of the stress that the daughter was under, she wasn't dreaming, she wasn't connecting. And so her mom used me to deliver her messages for her.
Oh.
And that was huge because it wasn't just the fact that her life was in crisis, but she was also in the middle of making a very huge decision with her business.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it was going to involve a lot for her. So that was a pretty big high. The other reason that it was high was because of the friend that was with me
Hmm.
who never truly believed in what I did.
Yeah.
They had heard stories and that, but it was the fact that they finally got to see it for themselves.
Yeah.
So it was, for me, that was kind of my aha moment where it was like,
Yeah.
ha, I told you I was good. I told you I could do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, obviously you do reads for people, you connect with spirit, but have there been any sort of world predictions that you've made that have come into fruition?
Not as of yet. I mean, on a personal level, yes, I've seen myself sit back and look at different situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I often get asked, especially with everything that's been going on in the world as of late, where I think this is all going.
Yeah.
I do feel that by the new year, possibly as early as Christmas time, December, that we're going to see an enormous shift
Mm-hmm.
for all of us.
Okay.
I feel 2025 being a year of completion,
Yeah.
that everything's that we're working on coming to that completion, so that we're stepping into almost, I feel like we'll be stepping into a brand new world in 2026. I feel that we're stepping through, like almost like in through a new porthole, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
with the amount of change that's being brought on us.
Mm.
And I feel that everything that we're doing now to work together as a whole is going to be even more important. People are starting to come together in so many different ways,
Yeah.
which is nice to see. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, that's what we should have been doing all along,
Mm-hmm.
but it's nice to see it coming together now. And so I feel that that's going to sort of be the tempo for 2026, is the fact that we're coming together to help one another.
So
But
going
it's
into
it's
going into
definitely
that
a
new
shift.
world, is that going to be a good new world, or is that going to be a challenging new world?
I think it's going to be challenging for those who aren't of accepting, and for those who are, for the people that are very selfish and, you know, sort of stuck in their own way. I
Yeah.
feel like, it's good. It's going to be a tough go for them, because they're going to have to learn to accept. I feel like it's the final push to awaken a lot more people
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as to how we should be doing things. You know, you always have to hit rock bottom before you can come up. And I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people are hitting that stage in their life in many places.
Absolutely. I was speaking to another psychic only a few hours ago. Actually, we were just talking about how the first part of this year has been, and I was saying that not only myself but loads of people around me are going through a big transition at the minute, and whether you're facing it and dealing with it and growing from it. And I even in my own life, for me, not choosing, but changing jobs, going from one job to another. My husband being made redundant, it was a blessing in disguise, because now our house is getting all sorted. And just seeing the positives, and seeing that yes, change can be scary and it can be unsettling, but when one door closes, another door opens. And if you put that work in, then, hopefully good things will come your way. And yeah, just to embrace it rather than to be scared of it, and don't just be stuck in a rut not doing anything. And if things aren't working, or you feel it's a bit of a struggle, or a bit of it's draining you, then something needs to change, something needs to shift. And for a lot of people, they don't want to make those changes, because they want to feel just they want to stay where they are. But when you do, it can be very uplifting and very rewarding.
100%. Yeah, that's definitely been the theme for my whole year. I mean, my life has changed drastically in the last, 5 6 months. And
Mm-hmm.
now when I sit back and look at it, I'm like so very grateful that it all happened the way it did. But in the process of it, yeah, it was very uncomfortable and
Yeah, of
a little bit unnerving at the same time. But
course. Yeah.
I mean, I call it blind faith. I have very much blind faith that the universe isn't going to steer me wrong, and I will always be put where I'm supposed to be.
Definitely, I believe that
And
too.
that's what gets me through on the toughest of days. I'm like, okay, universe, I don't know why you're challenging me,
Yeah.
but have at her.
Yeah. 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 And you grow as a person, and you learn so much. And yes, it's not always the nicest of experiences. But yeah, hopefully it makes you a better person in the long run, and relatable, and put you on the right path. Again, it is whether you take that opportunity and you work with that energy, and you accept it, maybe, I don't know, or come to terms with it, or yeah, it's maybe don't resist it, I don't know. But I don't know, I feel that if you go with that flow, that energy that you should be going with, like you said, then hopefully you will end up in the right place at the right time, and it'll all come together in the end.
And that's just it. I think the biggest challenge for any of us, including myself, is just having that faith and having that trust that
Yeah.
it's going to work out and that you're going to end up where you're supposed to be. You
Mm,
know, you
definitely.
just got to walk one foot in front of each other. It's like the old saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day,
No.
one stone at a time.
Yeah. And I think not to self sabotage. I think it's very easy, isn't it, that we can, oh, well, things aren't working out any. So let's just, I'm not going to bother now. Or, oh, I feel that I'm stuck in a rut now. Sod it, so to speak. Or, I'm not working now, so I can drink more. I can go out more. Or, that person doesn't love me, so why should I bother? It's very easy to self sabotage rather than thinking, well, actually, no, I'm not going to self sabotage. What can I do to make the situation better? How can I change things? How can I get myself on track? What support do I have around me? And, yeah, because we can't we? We can self sabotage, which I'm sure we've all done at some point in our lives, and learning not to go into those old patterns or old behaviors or those old restrictions that maybe we have been in the past.
100%. I mean, self love is one thing that, I preach all the time. Especially, not to say that men don't go through it too, but I find for women, oftentimes because we get so busy at being moms and a
Mm,
spouse and the caregivers in the world, that it's very easy for us not to recognize the beautiful things about us.
yeah,
I always tell people, if you're feeling that, you can't pick something out that you love and adore about you, ask your closest friends, because I guarantee that they're going to be able to pick out all the wonderful things that are about you. Sometimes it's just doing something like that that can help you get back on track.
yeah, absolutely. Because we don't hear it all the time, do we? We're so busy caring for other people and sorting other people out that, sometimes when somebody does comment and I try to make an effort in my life with people like that, even just, people that I work with, give them a compliment. Everyone loves a compliment, as long as it's genuine and, uplift people, bring people up rather than, criticize and put them down. And, lift people do well when they're lifted and they're filled with positivity. I really struggled in my life when teachers would put me down or say you're no good or you're lazy. That's not going to help me. Or when you go to an interview, I hate it when you go to an interview and they're really judgy and they're really firm and they're really stern. And it's like, you're not going to get the best out of your employers like that. Be encouraging. Like, someone's going to flourish if they're comfortable, they're relaxed, But I do find sometimes interviews can be really like hard, and it's like, oh God, does it need to be like that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I always found interviews in the past I always thought, why are they making me feel so uncomfortable
Yeah,
or on the spot? Why can't it just be that easy flowing conversation and see if it meshes?
definitely,
But
definitely.
it's true.
Yeah, bring out the best in people. It's like relationships, isn't it? Why be with somebody who's going to bring you down and not make you feel good? And don't get me wrong, I've been in plenty of horrible relationships in the past where they haven't done that. And it takes a lot sometimes to learn that and to set your boundaries. But, you want to be with that person that is going to lift you, that's not going to clip your wings and bring out the best in you. I always say that to my children, surround yourself with the friends that are going to lift you and support you. If someone's not making you feel good, then maybe they're not the right friend to hang around with, and to teach them that in life, that you don't have to put up with people, dumping rubbish on you. Be around people that are going to lift you and be positive and motivate you.
Yeah, I always say that the only two beautiful inventions on the internet was delete and block. So if it's,
Yeah, yeah,
people who aren't uplifting and supporting, I
yeah.
take them to
Good.
the trash can.
Yeah, absolutely. Get rid of those people. They've got their own issues to deal with. You don't need them in your lives.
That's right.
So what's next for
They'll
you?
learn in their own time.
Uh, you're obviously you're moving at the moment. Is there any more sort of psychic work that you want to do, or are you quite happy with where you're at with everything at the moment? You've obviously done it for a long time, so I don't know if there is any more things that you could possibly do. Is there?
Well, honestly, now it's a different world for me in the sense that I left a full-time corporate job where now this is all I do. So this is my life and who I am now,
Mm-hmm.
100% and wholly. So, I'm always open to new opportunities, new experiences. I'm definitely hoping to do some more traveling. Um, you know, I'm open to invites and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes next. I've sort of got a couple things out there where I'm in the midst of talking to some publishers about publishing a couple stories. So we'll see where
Brilliant.
that goes.
Yeah.
And just sharing as much as I can and trying to, help as many people along the way. That's honestly and truly my goal.
Absolutely, and what a brilliant goal that is as well, and so rewarding. And it's lovely that you have that psychic ability to be able to share with so many people on the phone lines when they're going through challenging times, or not even always challenging times. Sometimes you can have a reading even if you've got a great thing going on in your life. It's not all about sort of loss and sadness, or finding the next person you're going to be in a relationship with. People can come through if they've got a great job, great relationship, great home life. You can still come through and have readings and still learn so much. I know I spoke to one of the astrologers the other day, and I said, my life, apart from my home life, I need to get in order, which actually now has come into fruition with my husband being made redundant. Finally, that's getting sorted now. So I find that's the final piece to my puzzle. But you can come through and just have a reading if things are great, because it's sometimes just nice to have a bit of a check-in and a bit of a reset and reflect on what's happened, and just to align yourself with the energies that are around you and what this year represents for you, and to work again, sort of work with the energy rather than working against it. From speaking to the astrologer, finding out that Jupiter's in Cancerian, obviously Cancerian, the home life, it's reflecting now very much so what I'm going through at the moment with everything. And I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't have spoken to her. So there's so much you can learn, and little golden nuggets that you can take away when you have a reading.
Well, and oftentimes it's confirmation. People
Yeah.
oftentimes get their everything's going smooth, but they still have that little bit of doubt going on with them where they're waiting for the shoe to drop type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So oftentimes I find that a lot of readings like that are just giving people that confirmation that they're on the right path, and
Yeah.
what's coming ahead of them, so they've got some preparation for it type
Yeah.
thing. But it's really about that confirmation, and that able to take sort of that little bit of weight that they're carrying on their shoulders, where they've got that little bit of self-doubt or worry, where like it's everything's great, but oh my goodness, when's it going to go wrong type thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very much about that.
Yeah, preparation is good, just to see what's around the corner, how to avoid it or how to overcome it, or just be prepared for it. Absolutely. So it's not such a,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. So, I mean, how would you describe yourself as a reader? If people are listening and thinking, well, what makes you different from anybody else, would you say?
I would say mostly my compassionate side. I try to be very understanding, and I try to be very open, and I'm very honest. I mean, if I'm not connecting for somebody, or you know I'm very honest in saying that, where I'm really sorry, this isn't a good time for you. I'm
Hmm.
very open and honest about how I'm connecting and the direction that I'm seeing them go for.
Yeah.
So I feel that that's a big deal, is that honesty that I carry has always sort of been a trait that people recognize about me. And the
Yeah.
other thing is that I'm honest to the point of blunt, in the sake that I say exactly what I see. I don't sugarcoat anything for anybody.
Hmm.
If you come to me, there's a reason that you're here.
Mm.
I also am known for motivating people to get out of their ruts. So, if you're having a tough day, or you're playing the poor me card, where, you're beating yourself up and everything isn't going right,
Yeah.
then I'm apt to shove you in a better direction, and, kind of give you some stuff to think about, where it's like, oh, wait a second, if I thought this way,
Yeah.
maybe it could all be better.
And sometimes it's easier to take it from someone who's impartial, that's not a friend or a family member.
100%.
Mm.
100%. I mean, honestly, if you're calling to speak with me, we've never met, we don't know each other. So how is it possible that I'm able to connect with you that way?
Yeah.
It can make you really reflect a lot differently than you might if it was your sister, or your mom, or your dad, or whoever
Yeah. And
that's
it feels
telling you these
safe.
things.
It feels like a safe place as
Yeah.
well. A safe bit of space for people to express how they're feeling, that maybe they can't with other people, because they might get upset, or they might get defensive, or they might take it the wrong way. So, it is a safe place for someone to talk things through.
That is. And I mean, I don't judge anybody. Everybody's on their path for their own reason. They're
Mm.
in their, you know, everybody's got to grow and learn at their own speed.
Yeah. Definitely.
if I can help bring some clarity to that for them, then that's what I'm here for.
Brilliant. So anything really goes on the phone lines. If you want to talk about house clearance, people that have passed over, stuck in a rut, moving forward, anything. I mean, is there anything that you don't delve into that, or is it basically whatever comes through for that person is meant to be for them?
Yeah, I really, that's how I believe it, is whatever comes through is meant to be for them. I mean, I'm happy to, I always ask my customers if there's somebody specifically they want me to try to connect with, or if it's, a certain area, for instance, love or career, that they're specifically wanting me to focus on. But, I do believe that whatever comes through is what they're meant to receive.
Amazing. Well, I'm just looking at your PIN number. If people did want to come through and have a reading with you, your PIN number is 700524.
That's correct.
Incredible. How often are you on the phone lines for?
It just depends. I'm usually 7 a.m. my time, which I think that's, what is that, 11 o'clock your time, I believe? 12 o'clock. I think you're 5 hours ahead of me.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
I think you are. You're 5 hours ahead of me. So,
But you're on regularly. There's plenty of opportunities for people to come through to you.
yeah, I'm on daily, and I try to be on at least twice a day. So,
Oh,
I'm usually on for a few hours in the beginning of my day, and then also on again in the evening. And I try to do that pretty much every day so that there's ample time for people to be able to reach me.
oh, brilliant. And if people have never had a reading before, they're more than welcome to come through and try out a reading with you.
Absolutely.
Well, go for it. Go to Mystic Mandy, get your readings if you're listening. This has been amazing catching up with you today and finding out all about your experiences and what you're passionate about. And I wish you all the best with the move and sorting things out your end. But keep up the good work because you're doing amazing. We really do appreciate you. And our listeners, I'm sure, have enjoyed catching up with you today.
Thanks so much.
Take care, Mandy. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. You as well.